Hello everyone. Okay, this is our first introduction to the books of the Bible. There are 66 books in the Bible, 39 in the Old Testament, and 27 in the New Testament. So, what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to present our first virtual Bible study, and it's going to be on the book of Genesis. Now, I'm new at this, so you guys bear with me. It's going to get better as we go along. I'm going to get some professional people in here and do a little bit more to get it exciting for you, but I want to maximize your time, so let me get my little timer ready here and make sure that I stay on track. Right now it says it is 10:03, so I'm going to go through this and have this done in an hour. That's going to be our time limit to get all these virtual Bible studies done in an hour. Not just the virtual ones, but also the ones that are live that we do on Saturday from 5 to 6. So let's set the timer here. Let me clear this out and let's start. Okay, so what we're going to get into this morning, and I've kind of made myself a little makeshift podium here. I'm away with the kids on vacation, so therefore I don't have all the things I need to get everything done, but I'm staying committed to what God has called me to do and what God has called me to share with the class. So let's jump into the book of Genesis. Now, I do have this little sheet here. I haven't had enough time to type it all up and to get all the peripherals and the graphics together to show you, but this is like a storyline for each book, and I'm going to have this, and it's going to be our outline for each individual book that we study. So I haven't done this yet for the book of Genesis because it was a lot longer than I expected. It's 50 chapters. So not the length surprised me, but the time. It was a lot of time to dig into all those different chapters and verses and things like that. Is very rich. So I've condensed it down so we can get through it in about an hour. Now, please be aware that we're not drilling down to the specifics of each chapter and each verse. We're going over the broad subject matters for that particular chapter. Okay, so let's jump right into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to deal with is creation, and I'm going to go chapter by chapter, and I'm going to kind of see how that works, and if it's good, we'll stick with it. If not, we'll change it up as the videos, the virtual Bible studies move forward. But we're going to focus right now on the chapters. So in the book of Genesis, we take a look at chapter 1. Chapter 1 pretty much talks about the beginning, and the book opens with "in the beginning," and that's how "in the beginning God." That's how the book starts, and fortunately or surprisingly, it ends with Israel in a coffin in Egypt. But beyond that, talked about creation and how we all came to be, and God created the heavens and the earth. And interestingly enough, did you know that man was not the first thing that God created? No, man was not. He created man on the 6th day. Okay, 7th day he rested. And you also know that the 7th day is the only day, the Sabbath day, the 7th day is the only day that God chose and said it was blessed, because it's on the day that he rested from all his work. Okay, so chapters 1 through 2 covers creation. You want to know how you're created? You want to know why you're created? Then you need to look at chapters 1 through 2 of Genesis. Chapter 3 talks about temptation. It talks about the fall of man, the judgment of man, and how man was banished from the Garden of Eden. Okay, you got that? So chapter 3, if you're looking at Genesis, chapter 3 tends to be the most prolific, the most dynamic chapter at the beginning of Genesis, because it talks about what happened, how did we get in this fallen sinful state, and it basically leads to temptation, right? And then because of that temptation, man fell, and God began to judge man as a result, and he banished man from the garden. Now, man just doesn't mean man as in male, it means man as in mankind. And at that time, it was Adam and his wife Eve. Okay, so if you want to know how man fell, how did that happen, what happened, what does the Bible say, then you want to go take a look at chapter 3 of Genesis. Okay, chapter 3 talks about temptation, the fall of man, judgment of man, and being banished from the garden. Now, what was the temptation was, Eve had to have the fruit. And so she, well, it doesn't say what kind of, so she took of the tree of knowledge of good, of good and evil, which God told Adam not to do. So that was temptation. She was tempted by the serpent, and she did eat, and she gave her husband Adam, and he ate as well because he was with her. So that's chapter 3. Chapter 4. Now, this is the first glimpse we get to see of conflict in the Bible. Not temptation, but actual physical conflict that results in death, right? And Adam and Eve gave birth to Cain and Abel. And in chapter 4, the Bible talks about that conflict between the firstborn Cain and his younger brother Abel, right? And Cain kills Abel. Cain kills Abel. And Cain is cursed by God, right? And Cain marries and starts having children. And one of the children is Enoch. And then there is Seth. Okay, so that's kind of the genealogy that we're talking about now. In the very beginning books of Genesis, we're talking about conflict, right? And you also have that conflict happening between Cain and his younger brother Abel, where Cain kills Abel, and Cain is cursed by God because of his sin. But Cain goes and he marries and starts having children, and one of his children was Enoch. So now we have Cain, Abel, Seth, and Enoch, okay? And then we also have Enosh. So I'm going to go over that again. Those names sound a little crazy. We have Cain, we have Abel, okay? And then we have Enoch, which was the son of Cain. And then we have Enosh, which was Seth's son. So we have Cain, Abel, and Seth. Okay, Cain, Abel, and Seth. And then Seth has Enosh, and Cain has Enoch. Okay, got that? So if you're not clear on that, you can go and take a look at Genesis chapter 4. I know it sounds a little crazy, but I don't want to drill down too far into that. But that's kind of how we got the initial conflict. And you hear people say, well, especially in the African American community, that, well, he disrespected me, and so I had to deal with him, or he dissed me, and you ain't gonna just diss me in front of my family or my girl, so I gotta handle my business, right? Well, the Bible talks about how God did not respect Cain's gift, and because he disrespected Cain's gift, Cain went a little butt nutty and killed his brother, over that. So that's what we're talking about in chapter 4, okay? And remember, in chapter 4, you also see a couple of new names in there. You're going to see Enoch, which was Cain's son, and Enosh, which was Seth's son. And because Cain killed Abel, Seth was a quote-unquote replacement child for the slain son Abel. All right, and so that's where you get Seth. That's how Seth comes in the picture. So you have those three children. You have Cain, you have Abel, and you have Seth. Cain, Abel, and Seth. Okay, and Seth was the replacement son for Abel. Okay, and then Seth gave birth to Enosh, E-N-O-S-H, to Enosh, and Cain gave birth to Enoch, E-N-O-C-H. Okay, moving on. Okay, now let's go to chapter number 5. Okay, and we are already at 8 minutes, so we're doing okay. We're at 8 minutes. We're doing okay. Okay, so now we go to chapter number 5, and in chapter 5, sorry, give me a minute here, get all this stuff situated. In chapter 5, we're now talking about Adam's bloodline. Now, Adam lived 930 years. Seth lived 912 years. Enosh lived 105 years, and Enoch walked with God and was taken away. Okay, it never said he died, right? It says Enoch. Remember, Enoch was Cain's son, right? Enoch walked with God and was taken away. Notice it said he died. Enoch was also the father of Methuselah. And Methuselah lived to be 969 years old. 969 years old. You may have heard people say, man, you're old as Methuselah. Well, Methuselah, per scripture, is where that comes from. You know, he was the oldest person ever to live. He lived the longest, longer than anyone. And Methuselah was the son of Enoch. So Enoch had Methuselah, and then Methuselah is the father of Lamech, or Lamech, however you want to say it. Lamech, Lamech. And so Lamech is the father of Noah. Okay, see how that's coming now? There's a lot of names in between here, but I'm shrinking this down to give you the most important people for you to understand what's happening in this particular chapter, chapter 5 of Genesis. It's Adam's bloodline. And I'm trying to get you to the point of Noah, right? Because you'll see how after chapter 5, we're going to chapter 6 and 7, and we're talking about the flood. Well, how did all this happen? Well, I'm giving you some genealogy on how you actually got to Noah, okay? And so Methuselah was the father of Lamech, and Lamech is the father of Noah, okay? That's how that happens. Lamech is the father of Noah. Now, interesting fact, Lamech lived 777 years, 777. Now, all you Vegas players out there, what is the most popular number in Vegas? 777. You think it's a coincidence that Lamech lived a 777 years and the lucky number in Vegas is 777? I don't know, could be, I'm just saying. And Noah was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, so that's how Adam's bloodline started, or how it flows out. You start with Adam, you go all the way down to Noah, right? And then Noah has these three boys, and these three sons are Shem, S-H-E-M, Ham, you know, like ham you have on Thanksgiving or Christmas, and Japheth, J-A-P-E-T-H. So those are the three sons of Noah, and that's how we get from Adam down to Noah. Got it? If you want more information, just go and look in chapter 6, and it will tell you about Adam's bloodline. Now let's move on to chapter 6 and 7. Now in chapter 6 and 7, we've already established Noah, established him in chapter 5. Now we're going to talk about the ark and the flood. Okay? Remember, I'm giving you a lot of information in chunks. There's a lot of things that are missed. If you want more detail, you can actually read that particular text or section of scripture. But in chapter 6 through 7, it's where God orders Noah to build the ark. And then he tells Noah